Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, I want to talk to you about the stages of a PMDD breakup. And the reason why I really wanted to talk to you about this today is not just because I'm going through my own breakup, but then also I'm getting a lot of private clients coming to me saying that they've been to other counselors, therapists, psychologists, and things that have just told them, more solution-based counselors and therapists, and probably life coaches, I'm thinking, from talking to a lot of them, life coaches are more solution-based, and they're more like, okay, let's not just talk about, the emotions that you're having. Let's get you to a place of making a decision and doing something about it to get you back to a better place. And so I really understand that. I understand that modality, but a lot of times individuals who do not have PMDD, who have not experienced the level of internal turmoil, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of the things every single month for a prolonged period of time, don't really grasp the concept of the PMDD monthly breakups. And that's why I wrote my dissertation specifically on PMDD partners so that I could educate these professionals, because again, well-meaning, right? So what is going on is they're being told, private clients who I've had before are being told, oh, you just need to break up. Like if you're coming to me and you're telling me that your partner is being abusive, you're telling me your partner is a narcissist, you're telling me that your partner is manipulative, you're telling me that your partner is causing you stress and overwhelm and all of these things, you just need to break up. Maybe this isn't healthy for you. Maybe this is not the right relationship for you. And then what's going on is they're getting into their follicular days, and then all of a sudden they don't feel like their PMDD partner is abusive. They don't feel like their PMDD partner is toxic. They don't feel like their PMDD partner is putting them through trauma. So they're going back to the counselor, therapist, life coach, whatever it is. And then they're confused, right? Because they're like, no, I'm looking at my notes and you told me this before. And this and that. So they're not really, they're going in circles every single month. So what's happening is they're going in their luteal phase and they're complaining about how horrible the relationship is and how much their partner is triggering their PMDD and triggering them as a whole. And then they're going into their follicular days and they're feeling like, I got this. Or another tactic is you could be not even going to counseling sessions during your follicular days when you're feeling good, right? So you're going through this pattern and you're going through it for months and months and months, and you're not getting anywhere. You're not getting anywhere because there's no solution that's being provided to you that is specifically related to PMDD, to your menstrual cycle, to your ovulation, to the follicular, to the luteal. If whoever you have helping you is not addressing your menstrual cycle and the emotional and psychological turmoil that you're going through, then that's why you're not getting anywhere. And that's why I always tell my private clients, when things are going really, really well, I know it's tempting to be like, oh, I'm in my follicular days, I'm feeling really good, I don't need to have a session. But there's a lot that we get done during the follicular phase because you're more likely to absorb a lot of the information that I'm giving you, a lot of the tools that I'm giving you, so that when you go into your luteal phase, you'll be able to, communicate it to your PMDD partner in a way that doesn't cause, those PMDD monthly breakups. But I wanted to talk about the phases of the breakup process because I feel like it's people underestimate the amount of turmoil that goes on the other side of a PMDD breakup. When you're in that place of wanting to break up with your PMDD partner, you're pretty much living in the ego. So you're feeling confident about your decision and you're saying, yeah, I should break up because I know for sure I'm suffering. I know for sure that they're triggering my suffering. I know for sure I shouldn't be in this relationship. I just need to get away from this. It's almost like this inner turmoil that's telling you to run away from your partner, run away from your relationship. If you want to get peace, you need to get the heck up out of there. Like, this is what your PMDD brain is telling you. But what you're not understanding is on the other side of making that decision, there is so much that goes on that you're going to think to yourself, how did I get myself in this situation? Because PMDD is telling you that there's peace on the other side of the breakup. They're not explaining to you, all of the different stages of the breakup process and how that's going to feel specifically when you get into your luteal phase. And so I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to use myself as an example. And again, I've counseled a lot of partners that have gone through these breakups, and it has been horrible to it was horrible to see it, right? To counsel them through it. And now that I'm on the other side and I'm actually experiencing it myself, I feel it so much deeper because you can't rush the process. I remember towards the beginning of my breakup, it's the beginning of this year. I was like, okay, I'm going to go through these stages of the breakup. I know what they are. I got this. And I really was going through a process pre-breakup that I want to just kind of rewind a little bit so that you can understand what was going on behind the scenes before the breakup. And then going into the breakup, I was like, how come I'm in this stage? I remember at the beginning of the year when I announced my breakup, and I was like, why am I going through a deep, deep, deep sense of depression? Because if I looked at the steps of, the stages of a breakup, I was like 3 stages in. And I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in denial, which is the first stage of a breakup. And I wasn't there. I was more so at depression. And that's when I realized that through my process of trying to hold on to my PMDD relationship, of trying to hold on to my PMDD partner so much, I was going through the phases of the breakup while I was still in my PMDD relationship because I wasn't ready to let it go. I was in the first phase, like probably for all of 2023. Right. So let's get into what the stages are. And then I'll tell you kind of what happened with me and what I've seen with my private clients. So the first stage of a PMDD breakup is denial. So when you get to that place, and I don't mean like, okay, so I want to preface that we're not talking about a PMDD monthly breakup, meaning you're just triggered by things that are going on in your PMDD relationship that are making you want to get out of the relationship. I had experienced that before, and I never broke up with my PMDD partner. I did not break up with my PMDD partner because I was having a PMDD monthly breakup. I had the big breakup. So there is a difference. When you have the PMDD monthly breakup, it is because you're consistently getting triggered by the stress within your PMDD relationship, by the stress from your partner, and you're feeling like the only way to get peace is to get the heck up out of there and get out of the relationship. That's a PMDD monthly breakup. That's what I help PMDD partners with. What I went through was the full totality of a breakup, meaning this relationship with your PMDD partner is not going to work, and getting to that place of accepting that. So the first thing that I had to recognize when I was in the first stage, which was denial, it's that phase where you're in disbelief or denial that your relationship is not going to work with your PMDD partner. So this is a feeling of shock. I remember I had a lot of numbness because the reality was setting in for me. I was having a lot of conversations with my ex-PMDD partner that were confirming what I was trying to deny. I would have these conversations with him and I'm like, hey, babe, we really need to work on this, or we really need to work on that, or we really need to specifically get back into having our weekly sessions. We really need to talk about some of our main issues like the snoring and the parenting, or the lack of, of sharing in the parenting, because we had different parenting styles. We need to talk about, I remember I started to need different things and he started to need different things. Like, I started to need my ex-PMDD partner to take a more active role in maintaining the household in regards to the finances, in regards to things around the house. Like, remember, we were 5 years in from living long distance. And I believe you get to a point where you just need your PMDD partner. And I think we were both in that phase of really needing each other and coming to the reality that the things that we needed from our partner, we were not able to give to each other. And it's not for a lack of effort. It's not that we didn't want to. The distance was not allowing us to be there and to show up in a way that we really, really needed for different stages of our life. So I was really in a stage of my life where I was completely stressed. I was completely overwhelmed. I was completely in this place of feeling like I'm doing everything and I just need help. I was towards the end of getting my doctorate, and it wasn't necessarily the degree itself, because the degree, getting my degree, was always like a joy for me. It's my happy place. So helping PMDD partners, it's me living in my purpose. So it kind of fueled me and fulfilled me. But there were so many things behind the scenes that I needed help with as far as maintaining life. It became really overwhelming for me to still full-time homeschool, my daughter. And I was like, I really need help, in certain subjects, specifically math, and that was one of the things that he's amazing at. He is amazing at math. It comes natural to him. But because we had these differences in parenting styles, and because he wasn't in the home to where we can kind of develop this sense of normalcy to where I could get some help, with the co-parenting and with the homeschooling, to kind of take something off of my plate. I remember just journaling that a lot and looking back during that time that I was in denial. And I was really just like, I really just need my PMDD partner to take something off of my plate. So I remember asking my PMDD partner, actually, I'm going to go into that when I get to the third stage. Okay, so when I got to the point where I was having these conversations with my PMDD partner, and the responses that I was getting was letting me know that what my needs were not going to be met. It was just like, well, I understand, I wish I could help you. There's nothing I can do, or there's nothing I'm willing to do. So there were two categories. There was one, there's nothing I can do. And then there was two, it's nothing I'm willing to do. So snoring was one of those things, I've talked about it pretty much on all the episodes for years now, that really became a detriment to us spending time together, because what I was needing, and what I believed that he was needing as well, was a lot of that physical closeness, a lot of that intimacy, a lot of that, because when you're long distance, you don't get that on a day-to-day basis. And when you're going through a hard time in your life, you kind of want to feel that closeness and need to feel that closeness with your PMDD partner. So I was in that stage of like, listen, we need to figure out something with this snoring, because it's almost like a non-negotiable that every single time we see each other, we were now sleeping in separate rooms. It was impacting our intimacy as far as, having sex and being physical, because now we're like doing strategic ways. Okay, I want to have sex in the morning. You want to have sex at night. Maybe we should have sex in the middle of the day. It was becoming like a check the block kind of thing. Like, we know that we both need this. Like, let's make sure that this happens. And I remember when he said something to me one day when I was having this conversation, and he was like, you know what? I'm probably going to get my snoring fixed, but it's not going to be while I'm with you. And I remember being like, what? That's when I was in that stage of feeling of shock, which is the first stage of a breakup, because I'm like, are we really talking about resolving an issue after we're not together? Are we really talking about our lives not being together? I was shocked, because I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to start picturing my life without my PMDD partner. So I kept trying to bring up the issues that we were presently going through to get a solution so we could stay in the relationship. So I was in this place. This is what I would call when I felt like the relationship was slipping away. And I don't know if you've ever felt like this, where you almost have felt like your relationship with your PMDD partner is slipping away because you're seeing that on a month-to-month basis, you're getting further and further apart emotionally, physically. You're starting to go through your day-to-day routine, and you guys are you're not kissing each other in the morning or kissing each other at night or giving each other a hug when you come in the house, or doing those little things that you used to do. They're slowly going away. So I felt my PMDD partner slipping away, where there were some days where the only conversation I would have with my PMDD partner was like, good morning, baby. Good night. Good, how's your day going? And then we were doing the morning devotional, and that was it. There was no connectedness. There was no emotional closeness. There was nothing connecting us on an emotional level. And when you're in a long distance relationship, that's all you have is communication. So when there was this big barrier to the communication and I felt it slipping away, I was in that feeling of numbness where I was just going through the motions of, saying good morning, saying good night. And I think probably in my ex-PMDD partner, again, I can't speak for him, but I'm pretty sure he was in a place where he was feeling like maybe everything's fine. Like we weren't necessarily arguing, but we weren't close either. So for me, as a counselor, I know that that's a big red flag for me. Like if you're not connecting emotionally with your PMDD partner and you're just surviving through it, like that's not okay, because on the surface, it may look like everything's okay, but behind the scenes, someone's missing something. And when you're missing that connectedness, it's not good, right? Because there's a wall being built to where you're creating a new normal for your relationship. You're saying, okay, I guess this is how it is. I guess we're just like this. I guess we're not lovey-dovey anymore. I guess we're not going to do this anymore. I guess I don't need, like you start to get into this phase, which is number two, right? You start to get in this phase of bargaining. And I was in this stage of bargaining with my PMDD partner, like, okay, how can we make this work? Like what can I do? So this is when we started to go on trips and see each other and get separate. Like a couple times we got separate hotel rooms. We're like, okay, well, if we know for sure that sleep is the thing, maybe I'll get sleep in the next bedroom, and then we'll just spend all day together, and then we'll still go in each other's rooms and still be intimate and still have that time, but at least we'll get sleep, right? And towards the end of it, this is when this bargaining kind of went downhill. There was like a straw that broke the camel's back, when the snoring became such an issue that when I would go visit him, I was sleeping, that when I was going to visit him and he had a roommate and there was nowhere else to sleep. I remember one time I slept on the bedroom floor, or not the bedroom floor, I'm sorry, the bathroom floor of the house that he was staying at, because I literally could not get any sleep. And I knew that, if that happened for days and days and days, it was already going to cause issues. So that was like towards the middle of the year. And I remember being so like can you imagine like laying on the bathroom floor and being like, what am I doing? Like, how, like I still was in this place of bargaining, like, no, but I'm making this work. But when I say, what am I doing? I meant, how did we get here? Right? How is this issue of snoring so bad that I am now sleeping on the bathroom floor of, his roommate's house, when I'm going to see my husband, I'm going to see my PMDD partner. I came here for love, affection, attention, validation, all of these things, and I'm sleeping on the floor. So then I think like early in the morning, I was still in that bargaining phase, because I got up in the morning, dusted myself off or whatever, and then still tried to get back in the bed and spend time. And I really didn't make a big deal about it outwardly. Like I didn't like I let him know that I slept on the bathroom floor, but that was like pretty much the extent of it. But internally, I was like, I cannot believe we are at this place, because again, I felt it slipping, because I knew what it is that we needed. And I was craving my PMDD partner's affection so bad. And if you've ever been to that place, and I don't really get an anxious attachment style when I'm in PMDD, but towards the end of my relationship, I started to crave my PMDD partner really bad, where I was really like, I just need my PMDD partner. I just need him a lot. I just need to know and to feel that he loves me, and I was doing a good job, and that I was a good PMDD partner, and that he was proud to be with me. And I think what happened is, in my stage of craving my PMDD partner, was when he was in that place of being so dissatisfied with me and the PMDD relationship. So imagine we were in this place of me craving all of these things from my PMDD partner, and then him coming back and consistently telling me how dissatisfied he was. So, meaning it was hurting me even worse, because I'm feeling like, okay, I'm bargaining with him at this point. I'm saying, okay, I'll sleep on the floor and everything like this, and we'll still have a good time. And I remember there were other things, kind of like the way that he was speaking to me, when he was angry, or when we were having arguments and stuff. And again, I talked about this before, where I was like, hey, can you just not yell at me, because it triggers my childhood trauma. I have all these things going on, but I was still bargaining. I wasn't necessarily saying this relationship isn't going to work if you talk to me like this. I was just kind of like, I think I got to a point, because I remember I was doing my morning routine one day, and I had a conversation. I said, okay, so if you're angry with me, and if you're feeling triggered or whatever it is, or you're just frustrated in the situation, can you just apologize to me after you've talked to me? Pretty much you've yelled at me, you've said whatever. Not even yelled, because he would say, I'm not yelling at you, I'm just talking like charismatically, I'm just talking with a louder tone. But in PMDD, you can sometimes hear things louder than your PMDD partner is saying them. And so I was admitting to that. I'm like, yeah, because when I'm in PMDD, it sounds like you're yelling at me. But let's just, I was bargaining. So I was like, let's just say you're not yelling at me. Is it a possibility that you can apologize to me after, when I say after you have the conversation and you get everything out in a way that feels authentic to you, can you just apologize? And he was like, well, I don't really feel like I'm yelling at you. So we were in that place where the bargaining wasn't working, because he didn't feel like he was doing anything wrong. And he almost felt like I was bringing up things that were not part of his reality. They were part of my reality, but they weren't part of his reality. So in this stage of bargaining in your PMDD relationship, you're going to try to negotiate and bargain with your partner in an attempt to salvage the relationship. You're trying to save the relationship. So you're kind of saying, whatever it is that is really triggering me, that's bothering me, that's making me feel like I can't be in this relationship, let me bargain with you and see what we can do about this. So you may start making promises to change your behavior, or you may get to this place of saying, I'm accepting behavior less than what I really think that I deserve, but I'm doing it for the purpose of saving my PMDD relationship. Like, I remember that. I'm like, okay, well, I guess he's just going to yell at me. I guess this is just something that I'm going to have to deal with. And I got to this phase where the bargaining wasn't working, because there was a time, and I told you it was during Christmas time, I was still in the bargaining phase of the breakup. Remember, we're still together, but I'm bargaining, right? And this is normally what happens on the outside, like after a breakup. So you could be bargaining with your PMDD partner after you broke up with them, because you're trying to bargain to get the relationship back, right? I was bargaining while I was still in the relationship. So I remember he said we had gone through a couple, like I think it was like a day, we had a disagreement, and all of these hurtful things were said on both parts, and all of these things. And then he was like, by the way, we were supposed to spend Christmas together like we do every single year as a family, like since we've been together. And he said, by the way, I'm spending Christmas with my family. I'm going home. And I'm thinking, okay, your family, like your in-laws? Like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, I need to be around people who love and support me. So again, this is where the bargaining pretty much was like, the bargaining was pretty much ending, because there was decisions that were being made that were not being made together. It was singular situations. So I had already planned a Christmas vacation for all of us, like I did every single year. Every single year when we do traveling, I plan, like I'm the planner with trips, and he's always, loved that about me. And so I didn't think anything of it. And I guess during that day that we were having a disagreement, he called his family and was like, I just want to go home. So it was a time that he had came home to me, and he said after his visit, I don't feel loved. I don't feel like you care about me. I just know that, if I'm ever in this situation again where I'm really, really needing you, because he was going through the health scare and stress with work, that you're not going to be there for me. So that's when my anger set in, because I was experiencing anger while I was still in the relationship during the breakup, because I was like, I'm doing everything that I can in order to save this relationship. And I couldn't believe the response that I was getting was, you're not doing good enough. You need to do more. If only you were, better, I wouldn't be suffering as much as I am. Like, that's the way I was taking everything that he was saying to me, instead of being like, thanks, babe. I know this is probably really hard on you too. I know I'm really not showing up as my best. I appreciate you being there for me. Like, there was no appreciation. It was more so of, you just need to do better. And so during the Christmas break, when he told me I'm spending Christmas with my family, and I had already booked us to go to Mexico. And I said, to kind of bargain, I said, okay, how about you spend Christmas, what did I say? Oh, I said, how about you spend Christmas with your family, and then you come back and spend New Year's with us? Like, that was me bargaining. And for me, that was so huge, because traveling has always been a big part of our relationship. Traveling and holidays is when we have the most time off from work, and we really use that time to pour into each other, to make those memories. And it really has kind of bonded us over the years. Looking back to even the first year that we were together, we went to Dubai, we went to Egypt together. We've been to Hawaii together for Christmas time. We've been to Vegas. We've been a lot. We're always traveling together during the holidays. And so I think in my mind, I was still in that stage of salvaging the relationships, to say, okay, we're going through this really hard time, like during Thanksgiving and all, and Halloween and all these holidays, but during Christmas time, we're really going to be able to spend this time together. So I was holding out for this. So when he told me I need to go home, I need to be around my family, obviously I don't have anything against him being with his family. I love his family. I would have loved to go with his family. And he was saying to me later on, like, oh, I would have invited you, but that wasn't part of the bargain. The bargain was, when I presented it to him, he was like, well, I'm going, here pretty much. And that's it. Like, he bought the tickets to go home. And again, normally when we travel, I'm buying the tickets together, or we're buying this. He buys the tickets for all of us. And so I was just like, are we really in this phase where we're traveling, separately? Like, we're buying tickets around Christmas, with like one ticket for one person. So I was just like, what? So I agreed to go. I agreed to this bargain. And it was so uncomfortable for me, but I was such in this place of being desperate to save my PMDD relationship, that I was just like, okay, I'll accept this, right? And I remember being on the trip in Mexico and just getting on the plane, and it didn't feel good to me. And I was in my follicular days. I wasn't even a PMDD, but it felt horrible. I mean, even my daughter was saying like, oh, where's he at? Like, is he coming? Is he flying in separate? Like, when's he coming? Like, are we going to do this excursion together? Like, all of these things. And I was just having to tell her, like, no, he's going home, with his family, to spend some time with his family. And she had been home with his family before and spent time. And so I know she was pretty much like, so why aren't we there? Right. And so when I was in this phase of bargaining, I got to a point, I was like in the middle of the trip, and it was me. I was in the middle of the trip, and I literally texted him and I said, yeah, this is not, that's when the bargaining for me stopped, because I realized I was accepting not just less than what I deserved and what I needed, less than what I felt like he needed. I felt like he needed us to be together just as much as anything. Like, when you're in this phase of, again, this is my reality, but when you're in this phase of saving your relationship and choosing between spending time with your external family, like, for me, the way I've always thought about it is, if you're my partner, you come first when it comes to any of my family, because outside of my daughter, like, and even with my daughter, I'm feeling like we're all in this together, but you're my first priority. Even if I did want to see my sisters, or I did want to see, some of my other family members, if my relationship with my husband, my spouse, my PMDD partner is not right, I'm not going to go and spend time with my family knowing that my relationship is hanging on by a thread. And I thought I was making it very clear, because we were having conversations pretty much daily about the state of our relationship. And I think that he was in this place of going through a lot of stress with work and all these things, but I needed to be that person that he leaned on. I needed to be that person that he got the support from, because we needed to be able to blend as one. And I'm going to do a whole nother episode on, when you get married, how they say two become one. But I'm going to get into four becoming one, because when you have PMDD, there's a whole nother thing in that. But we were slipping. And the way I can describe it, the way I was feeling was definitely a feeling during the bargaining period of desperation. So if you ever want to like kind of guess about what stage that you're in the breakup process, if you're starting to feel desperate, where you're accepting things that you know that you don't deserve, you know that you pretty much, not even that you deserve, you know you need more than what your PMDD partner is willing to give you, but you're willing to accept it because that's all they're willing to give you. That's where I was. And then it turned into anger. So I was in the middle of the trip and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't accept this bargain. This plea is not working for me. That's pretty much where I was. Cause I'm taking family pictures with my daughter. I'm making memories with my daughter, and we were having an amazing time. But I just kept thinking to myself, this is not going to be good for me to even have these memories of it just being me and my daughter. Because again, when me and my ex PMDD partner got together, it was me and my daughter. I almost felt like it was like the whole relationship was going into reverse. Like, we started the relationship where I was a single mom, we were getting to the relationship, and I integrated my PMDD partner into our relationship, and we were working on it, and we're blending, right? You know how they say the blending family. We were blending, and then we were almost unblending, because little by little, all of the things that were happening that caused us to blend together were just being taken away. And now here I was 5 years later on a vacation without my PMDD partner, and it felt horrible. It felt like I was doing something wrong. I will tell you, that's where it was. I felt like I was doing something wrong by making family memories without my family. He was my family. He was my person. He was everything. He was a part of my whole life. I felt like, how am I making a memory without him? Like, it's weird. It's almost like if you were to go home to your in-laws without your partner. Like, I didn't even understand that part. I was really in that phase of like, aren't they asking about me? Like, who goes home to see their family without their spouse? Like, and you're married, without your spouse and your daughter. Like, I just kept thinking to myself, like, how is this a thing? Like, how am I so deep in the bargaining process that it's become okay for us to take trips to see our family without our family? Like, in my mind, we were supposed to be one. We're supposed to be a unit. We're supposed to be doing everything together. So almost like, if we're having a hard time in our relationship and we're not seeing eye to eye, it's the holidays. We're just not going to see eye to eye together. Like, you know what I mean? You don't, in my mind, you don't have the option of just spending a vacation alone because you're not seeing eye to eye with your partner. I didn't know that that was a thing. And so I had gotten angry at myself. I wasn't necessarily angry at my PMDD partner. I was angry at myself. So this is the next stage, the third stage, right? So let's do a little recap. So the first stage is denial. That's when you're in that state of numbness and shock. The second stage is the bargaining. The third stage, it was the anger. I was angry at myself that I had even made this deal. So I take full responsibility that I'm the one that said, okay, we can do this. And then I got halfway through it and I was like, I can't do this. It felt horrible to me. And I was just like, why is this happening? The anger became not even at my partner, just at the relationship as a whole, because I was angry at myself for not being able to make it work. I wanted to stay in that place of it being okay. I wanted it to be okay with me, but I even, looking at my daughter and hearing her like, I just didn't want to create a facade to my daughter that this is what our family looks like, because she, that's, for a child, you have to be consistent, right? At some point, we were already inconsistent with not living together as a whole, but I'm trying to be consistent, like at least with the holidays. And I didn't want her to think that, oh, it's okay for us to take a vacation without, my partner. So I was in this stage of anger, and then I called him. I'm like, this is not going to work. This is not. And he was like, I thought this was okay. Like, I'm pretty sure he was fine because he was with his family and he was, living his best life. And I was just missing him and mad at myself. And I was just like, I felt horrible about the relationship, myself, my decisions to even do this. And I was just like, I can't do this. And he was just like, oh, okay. He was like, okay, well, it's kind of like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm already here with my family. And then I went into this next phase, which is where I'm still at. Um, which is the fourth phase, is depression. I began to get very, very depressed, feelings of sadness, loneliness, despair. And it's common during this stage. And this is the part that I wanted to kind of skip over, because the mourning part, the process, you're mourning the loss of your relationship. And I began to feel this sense of emptiness. And what I can tell you is this is the most painful. So again, if you're thinking about having a PMDD breakup, the monthly breakups, or a breakup, at all, on the other side of this, stage 4, right? I'm in stage 4. Stage 4 is horrible. The feelings of sadness, I can describe it as a crushing. It feels like someone is taking my literal heart in their hand and they're crushing it, and there's like blood dripping out of it. The crushing is the feeling of just grief. You're literally feeling like something or someone died. And when you're in PMDD, it is, oh my gosh. There's so many things. You start to have a lot of visions of your past relationship. You start remembering things about your PMDD partner. You start going places and remembering what it's like when you were there with your PMDD partner. I'm right now, I am in Vegas, and this was like one of the main places that we always go. We got married here in Nevada. And this whole trip, I even reached out to my ex-community partner. I'm like, are you good? Are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. And so apparently it's just me. It's just me. Then I'm in this place of just feeling like I'm still being crushed. Like I'm still looking back. You almost start to second guess. And you're like, did I do everything that I could have done? Could I done anything differently? You're beating yourself up. You're mourning the loss, because my whole life was surrounded and wrapped in a cocoon of what our life was going to look like when we both retired and we were both living together on some island or in some house, and people were coming to visit us, and we had this amazing house, and we took them out, and we were having a good time together, and we just loved each other, and we got up and did our routines and just lived a good life. We were in this place of agreeing that, okay, it's going to be hard for a couple years, but once it's over, we're going to live this amazing life. And to know that we didn't make it to the end of that promise that we made when we first started the relationship it's depressing. It's really depressing for me. I'm sad, I'm lonely, and not even lonely in a sense that I need companionship. The affection that I needed still was only from my PMDD partner. I'm a very loyal person. Like my mind is still, I don't know. Once I commit, like cheating is probably the least, like it will probably never happen for me, because I'm so zoned in and focused on my PMDD partner. So even if I do have loneliness, I have loneliness because I don't have my ex PMDD partner. Not that I don't just have a person or a body, because for me, it's so much deeper than that. It's never been like, I've never been the type that can just kind of like sleep around without an emotional connection. Though obviously I know the psychology behind even having sex with someone, holding hands with someone, leaning into someone, and that's a very sacred thing for me. So I'm still in that place of, if I don't have my ex PMDD partner, then it's not happening. And so there's this feeling of just despair. I'm just feeling like I lost it. I lost my person. And I'm responsible for, a lot of the decisions that were made to end the relationship. And so I take responsibility for it, but it's still part of the breakup process that I'm going through. And you kind of just have to sit in it. Like I remember I had a private client, and they were like, well, how long does this last, Dr. Rose? Like, how much longer do I have on this? Because out of all the stages, This one is the longest, and it's one that you can't skip through. Like a lot of times, like the anger is short lived. Like that's like stage 3 of anger. Like you don't stay angry very long. Like, and the anger can be directed at your PMDD partner, at the relationship, at yourself, but it doesn't really last that long because at the end of the day, you kind of like forgive yourself. You're like, oh, I did the best that I could, and the anger is gone. So the longest phases that I will tell you is the denial phase is long. I mean, I was in denial for almost a year, right? Almost the bulk of 2023. The anger phase, the bargaining phase, that's also long because you're trying to do different things. You're like, can we do this? Can we do this? You're negotiating back and forth. The anger stage is not that long. The depression stage, again, it takes a minute because you have to go through all the scenarios in your mind. You have to, especially when you have PMDD, you're going to have to go through it every single month. Like I with the depression during the breakup process, you almost go through it twice. So you go through it when you're in PMDD and you're already feeling the depression of the PMDD symptoms. So you fall deeper into the PMDD breakup and you get even more depressed. You're crying even more. Like I've had moments where again, I don't know why, what's with me in showers. I think it's because my mind is most clear when I'm in the shower. Like I'll get a lot of ideas for the podcast when I'm in the shower. It's like my mind is clear after my morning routine, which is why my PMDD partner's morning routine is so important for me because I cultivate all of this energy. I shift my energy into a positive direction. Then all of the tools and the podcast episodes come to me when I'm in the shower. I literally have to write them down like as soon as I get out. But when you're in PMDD and you have this level of depression after a breakup, the shower is when I do the bulk of my crying. Like, and I mean, again, ugly crying, like sliding down the wall. I've sat in the shower just like you see in the movies. I'm like, this is like a Lifetime movie, just like you see in the movies. You see the woman that's crying at the bottom of the bathtub and she's like curled up in a ball. That's been me. And I get out the shower, my eyes are puffy and red. And I've done this for days and then had to go to work afterwards, my eyes looking crazy. And it is the continuous process. And I remember just being in PMDD and just being like, please, this hurts so bad. Please I just want this to end. And then you go into your follicular days and you feel like you're going to feel better. But then you get depressed because you're in your follicular days, you're feeling loving, and then you're not having anyone to feel loving with. So you're back in a deeper depression while you're in your good days. So you can literally go through this post PMDD breakup depression for months and months and months with no break because you have it in your follicular days, you have it in your luteal days, you have it during ovulation. Ovulation is normally where I feel the most loving. And I definitely have it during ovulation the worst because I just want to love on my PMDD partner. I want to hug him and kiss him and hold him and have sex with him and just, go out to eat with him and make memories. Like I want to do all these things. And then I'm just stuck. I'm just sitting there in this depression, like, why? And it's a continuous process. So that's where I'm at. I'm at stage 4. And then stage 5 is acceptance. So stage 5 of a PMDD breakup is when you've accepted the realization of the breakup and just understanding that life is going to go on. Like it's almost like when you completely lost hope that the relationship is that you're going to get back with your PMDD partner. So you're still going to have feelings of sadness, but there's going to be some peace on the other end of it, right? There's going to be some peace and also some clarity and understanding as to why that relationship had to end. So there's not going to be any regret. There's not going to be any bitterness. There's not going to be any resentment. And you're probably still going to miss your PMDD partner, but there's going to be a level of just like, okay, this had to happen, or this was meant to be, or we're both going to be okay. And then the final stage of a PMDD breakup is when you're in that stage of moving on. So in this final stage of a PMDD breakup, you start to both rebuild your lives individually and focus on what you learned from the relationship, what you want moving forward in a partner, if you even want to have a partner, and you start doing the phases of your life individually. You stop thinking about yourself as a couple. You start thinking about yourself as an individual, and you start planning out your future as to what you want that to look like. So you may start doing activities with yourself that you used to do before, right? You may start to socialize more. You may start to think about, oh, what are these trips that I've been wanting to take? Or what are some things that I could do by myself that I've been wanting to do with my PMDD partner, but maybe they didn't want to do it. Maybe I couldn't do it. Maybe I can enjoy it with someone else. This is when you're probably even thinking about, maybe I'm gonna, start dating again, because you're in that phase of moving on. It's like, okay, let me think about what I would want in a partner, and what that looks like. And you may start to integrate yourself into that social scene of adding another individual into your life. And this is the final stage, right, of the PMDD monthly breakup. But again, what I want to preface with this whole thing is that the stages of a breakup are very individual to the length of your relationship with your PMDD partner, the level of commitment that you had. Were you married? Were you dating? Were you in a long-term relationship? Were you in a short-term relationship? Meaning, if you were in a shorter-term relationship that was less intense, you may go through these stages a lot quicker, or you may go through them in a different order. But the longer it is, I will say not even the length of the relationship, the more invested you were in your PMDD partner, the longer the stages are going to be. So if you find out that you're like going through the stages like this, you probably weren't that invested in your PMDD partner or the relationship. Like if you're dating someone after a month, I would even say after 3 months. If you're dating within a 3-month period, you probably weren't that invested in your PMDD relationship. And there's no shade in that, right? But it's just that you are able to move on, which is stage 6, which is the final stage. One or two things is happening. You're either skipping through some of the stages because they're painful AF, and you just are like, maybe I could just avoid them, which if you avoid one of the stages of a PMDD breakup, post breakup, if you avoid one of these stages, you're going to come back to them. And I've seen this in so many clients where they've gone straight to dating. They've gone straight to dating someone and they've moved on, and then they get depressed and they start missing their PMDD partner. And so they have to kind of do the stages. This is why I say it's always really good to have these private sessions with me if you're going through a breakup, because you want to make sure you're doing the stages of a breakup in order so that you don't have to redo them later on. I am here to counsel you through the stages of a PMDD breakup. So if this is what you're going through, this is why you come to me, so that I can make sure that you're going through the stages in the correct order so that you don't have to go through them again. Because the worst thing that you can do is skip through the phases, start dating someone else, and then pull them into your stages of depression or your stages of anger or your stages of bargaining. This is when I've seen a lot of PMDD partners break up, go straight to dating someone else, and then you're dating someone else, but then you're still missing your PMDD partner. Your ex-PMDD partner opens the door for you to come back in. And then now you're dealing with a love triangle because you've not fully healed from your ex-PMDD partner, and you're still holding out hope that your PMDD relationship can work. And now you have this third party come in there, and now you're adding these different intricacies into your PMDD relationship, where now if you do get back with your ex-PMDD partner, which is something that I can help you with, now you've got this other person on the side. Now your partner has these insecurities because they know that you done slept with someone else, you opened yourself emotionally to someone else, you've gone outside the relationship, and now you've added on issues that weren't previously there, and it is igniting your issues that you currently had and making them even worse. Because if you have any insecurities within your PMDD relationship, now it's going to be confirming them. Like, I knew that you were going to cheat on me because as soon as we got out of the relationship, you brought somebody else into the picture. You've probably been wanting to do that this whole time. Now you have all of this going on. So if you know that you're going through a PMDD breakup, right? I don't care if you've done the PMDD monthly breakup or you've done the big breakup where you've completely ended your relationship and you're wanting to reconcile with your PMDD partner. I can help you. Go to my website, inlovewithpmdd.com. But again, if you already know you've gone out of order, you're like, Dr. Rose, too late. I've already brought someone in. I've already slept with someone. I've already texted someone. We're already giving good morning texts. At this point, I can help you navigate this, but you don't want to do it by yourself. When I tell you you're going to get really stressed, overwhelmed, confused, bewildered, all of these things, I don't want you to lose your ex-PMDD partner if you're wanting to reconcile. I don't want you to lose this new person if you're not really knowing how to navigate it, because you may be thinking, okay, I'm introducing this new person, but I'm still mourning my ex-PMDD partner. This is something we can also work through, but you have to do it very strategically. This is not something where you can just throw it together like spaghetti on a wall and hope that it works, right? So these are the stages of a monthly breakup or a PMDD breakup. This is a post PMDD breakup. Whatever stage that you're in, reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, In Love with PMDD. You can also email me, rose@inlovewithpmdd.com. And also, if you're not on my PMDD Weekly Digest, which is my monthly, not monthly, but weekly, I give you free tools. Go to my website, inlovewithpmdd.com. I do still have my 2-month private PMDD partner sessions. I have a couple more slots available. So make sure you're going to my website and you're getting those before it's over. And until next time, we got this. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.